Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for tuning in into Recoveries R US, the show that talks about recovery. My name is Connie Pacheco. I am the owner and president of Recoveries R US, and I will be your host for today. Today, I have a great segment for you and a ton of information. I want to welcome today Mr. Eddie Babom, whom I recently had the pleasure of meeting and getting to know. Eddie is the author. I'm going to have to read this for you. Eddie is the author of The Sun Will Rise in December.
Yes, ma'am.
He is the co-founder of the Voyage to Love Foundation and provides drops of hope to promote positive behavioral outcomes in youth.
Yes.
Am I correct?
Yes.
As the creator and photographer of La Leche del Arte, and we'll talk about that.com, Eddie utilizes the art of photography to capture light and the love in the moment, satisfying his passion to connect and motivate, inspire, and support others around the world.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a minute. I also want to welcome back my dear friend, Jose Ramon. He was here in our last segment. Jose Ramon is the creator of the White Shirt Project and also the founder of the Bronx LGBT Expo. And Joey will bring us up to speed with all the wonderful things that he's been doing since our last show with regards to bringing awareness to the stigma associated with mental illness. So welcome back, Joey. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me back.
So, Eddie, what was your inspiration and motive for writing this book?
Well, many things. One of the main reasons why I wrote the book was because everyone I'd ever shared anything about my life with was like, oh my God, you have to write a book. I had people crying. I mean, just sharing simple things at home that to me were normal at the time. And also to inspire others. You know, I think that a lot of the things that are covered in this book are issues that are faced by people of color, people in any community really growing up, and we really don't talk about these things. We're taught usually to keep these things under wraps. But I want to get conversations going that are tough. So part of the reason why I wrote the book.
And it's an excellent book. I had
Thank you.
My students at Recoveries R US reading the book and writing an essay on the book, and we'll talk about that in a little while. Tell me why the title. What's the title mean? What does that mean?
So The Sun Will Rise in December, for me, symbolizes many things. Some of the things I can tell you here. The rest you kind of have to read the book. Folks, sorry, no spoilers. But it's really rising to the occasion. And for me, December is the beginning of the ending of a year and the beginning of a new cycle. And so it's kind of closing old chapters and starting new cycles and rising to the occasion, if you will, amongst other things.
So I want to make a distinction that is S-O-N,
Yes.
and that's S-U-N. So it's a sun rises in December.
Thank you for that. 'Cause I can't tell you how many people hashtag the S-U-N. It's The Sun Will Rise in December.
The Sun Will Rise in December.
Yes.
This is an excellent book. So in your book, you disclosed very personal things about your life, from coming out as a gay man and also medical status, and how difficult was that for you to even admit to yourself, and much even putting it in the book?
I think it's a lot more difficult for other people to deal with. Initially, it's funny how things work. When I was writing it, I had this case of the efforts, if you will. I was just like, I'm going to put it all in there, whatever. And then now I'm like kind of cringing as people are reading details. Like I run a couple book clubs and I have some young people reading the book. But I think I've always been an open book and I'm comfortable with who I am. And so I was prepared for whatever this was going to bring me. And luckily, it's been nothing but positive feedback. People relate. It's more relatable as a result of me putting that in there. And so I think it's a little challenging at times because of maybe age limits for young folks, and you don't want to expose some materials to certain people. For example, I had a counselor just the other day tell me that he bought the book and he left it on his table, and his 12-year-old daughter picked it up and she's like, "Daddy, what's porn?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." And he's like, "Nah, it's cool. I told her you don't need to worry about that. Keep reading." I'm like, wow, he's a great dad, because he acknowledges what's in there and he wants to know what's going on with his daughter.
Right. Excellent. So there's a chapter, I can't remember what chapter it was, but there was a part in the book, a chapter in the book, I can't remember the chapter, that you talked about being a dreamer. You talked about your mother supporting you in your endeavors, and you talked about being a caretaker and a protector, a caretaker, even of your siblings. My question to you is, how how do you take care of yourself, and how do you what do you do to take care of yourself?
I meditate daily, which I recommend to anyone. It's the best drug on the market. It's free, it's natural, and when you come out of that meditation, you feel like you just got a hit of life. The good stuff.
Right.
But meditation is really has been a driving factor into my own personal recovery from the trauma that's covered in this book. Aside from meditation, I use morning affirmations. I think it's important to look in the mirror and see yourself talking positively about yourself.
Right.
And that's the strongest form of energy that you can give yourself, right? So I am light, I am love, I am a caregiver, I'm a responsible community member. Things like that I say to myself that build me up so that my cup is empty, so when folks are bringing their energy towards me, I can be available to them.
Right. Yeah, that's excellent. And I just wanted to emphasize that Eddie is also a CASAC, which is a credentialed alcoholism substance abuse counselor. So he's also in the field, providing this service to individuals. So I just wanted to make that disclosure. In the book, you talked about your siblings.
Yes.
And taking your siblings out of foster care and then getting custody of them.
Yes.
What was the ordeal? How difficult was that, and what were the obstacles that you had to face when you were doing that?
It was very difficult initially. It was scary. I was very young. I didn't have many resources, and I didn't have much supports. I can remember one of my aunts stepping into the courtroom and saying, he can't take care of his brothers and sisters. And when the judge asked why, she said because he's a faggot who has AIDS. And luckily the judge was not ignorant, and he asked her to please refrain from using such language in the courtroom and granted me custody right away. But it was an ordeal. It was challenging going to court, going to meetings, going to family therapy, and then dealing with 5 children who were in bereavement, who were dealing with the loss of a mother. So it was extremely challenging. But I'm grateful for those experiences because that's how the sun rose in December.
My goodness, Eddie, thank you so much for bringing that and being on the show and
thank you for having
people
me.
know. So if people wanted to get your book, is it on Amazon? How can they go about?
So you can get it at eddiepabone.com. You can pick it up on Amazon, and if you're in the Bronx, which most likely you are, you can go to the Lip Bar and pick up a copy as well.
That's right. Well, thank you very much,
Eddie,
for this wonderful wealth of information in this book. I definitely had the students read it, and every single student that we have is amazed. They can get in touch. They can relate. I mean, it's a wonderful book. So thank you very much.
Thank you. That's been one of the biggest blessings of this. It's just I've had 100% positive feedback, and I'm waiting for the negative, but it hasn't come yet. So I'm glad that people can relate. Thank you to all who have been supporting. Pick up this book. It's important that you read it. It's real stuff in here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't think there's any negative because the stories, that's your story. So there's, that it is what it is. And it's a true story, it's a real story, so people can definitely relate to that. So thank you very much. And thank you for coming on the show and talking to us today.
Thank you for having me, Connie.
Yeah. I want to turn our direction over to my dear friend, Jose Ramon. And we, last time we were here, we were talking about the Bronx LGBT Expo.
Correct.
That was taking place in June, I believe it was.
June 22nd.
June 22nd. Tell me all about that.
Well, it happened.
It sure enough did.
It sure did. Oh, it was great. We had our inaugural Bronx LGBT Expo this year. It was fantastic. We had a lot of sponsors come in. We had a panel discussion regarding trans lives, mental health components, all kinds of good stuff, performances by a lot of recognized divas in the industry, and we ended up with a bang. Yeah, it was really, really good.
How many participants were there?
I would say about 70 to 80, under 100, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it was wonderful. I was there as one of the participants, and I think I was also on the panel.
Correct.
And it was an excellent turnout. From politicians to the media.
The Bronx Borough President's office stopped by. We had other local leaders stop by. I mean, it was really a community event, so we had a lot of support.
That's right. And this is the first time that the Bronx LGBT Expo is happening in the Bronx, and I know that you already have you've already started for the next. Oh, but wait a minute! You also took the LGBT Expo to Berlin.
Yes,
that's right.
So this year we celebrated Pride here in New York City, but before that we took it to Berlin.
That's right, Germany.
So we had printed out some shirts with all our sponsors and of course the Bronx LGBT Expo logo, and we celebrated Pride in Berlin as the Bronx LGBT Expo.
Wow.
It was phenomenal.
Wow, that's excellent. That was excellent. What an excellent experience. So I know that you've been, in addition to the Bronx LGBT Expo, you've also done quite a lot of other things since
few
then. The
things.
White Shirt Project has morphed into an entity all by itself, and now in addition to that, the Expo. Tell me what other things you have done since then.
Well, you know, the great thing is that it lends itself out to anything mental health, anything stigma, all of that. Since then, I was a human rights speaker for this year during Pride. In addition to that, we just had a stigma summit with health in hospitals, where I displayed the work, and also Stigma Summit, the White Shirt Project went together. Now we have a committee going for the Bronx LGBT Task Force, which has to do with creating an event for mental health and relative to those within our community that are LGBT. In addition to that, now we have another panel going for next year's 2020 LGBT Expo.
I'm so excited. This is so awesome. Well, there you have it, folks. If you want more information with regards to the White Shirt Project, you can go into...
You can go to the Bronx LGBT Expo for the Bronx LGBT Expo website, or go to G-Note Entertainment / the White Shirt Project.
White Shirt Project. Thank you very much. Again, I want to thank Eddie for being here today.
Thank you
so much, and I hope that you can come back and visit us.
Of course.
And Joey, thank you once again. We'll
Thank
talk
you so
soon.
much.
I think you're going to be a regular on this show. That's right.
Thank you.
And ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. As always, we're grateful that you're tuning in, and we have a ton of information. We'll come every week to talk about recovery. Guest will be Mr. Louis LeBoy. Please stay tuned for that segment, because that's going to be really informative. And remember, you have to start somewhere, and it all starts with you. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Because of you, I felt hopeless.
Because you said rude things about my work, I started to question my own voice.
I know it was a joke, but it still hurt me.
Because of your negative comments online, I've almost quit doing the one thing that makes me happiest in life.
Because you shared something about me that was private, I felt embarrassed.
Because you said hi to me on the first day of school, I felt included, and I knew that I was going to be okay.
Because of you sharing your story with me, I feel comfortable sharing my own.
Because you were there when I was coming out, you helped me regain my confidence.
I'm still here today because of you.
Welcome back, everyone, and thank you for tuning in into Recoveries R US, the show that talks about recovery. My name is Connie Pacheco. I'm the owner and president of Recoveries R US, and I'll be the host for today. Today, we're bringing a great segment with us. We have my guest today is Mr. Louis LeBoy. Hi, Louis. How are you?
Hi, Connie.
Hi. I have to read your bio because this is excellent. Listen to this, folks. Louis has a master's in public administration. He's studying for master's in social work at Fordham University. He's a certified alcohol and substance abuse counselor. He is also a peer advocate. He's a OASAS education and training provider, impaired driver program, and he's a KSAC trainer for the National Council on Alcohol and Drug Dependence of Westchester. He's a chairperson for the Bronx Council on Alcohol and Substance Use Disorders, and he's also the program director. I don't even know how you do all this stuff. The director of Emma L. Bowen Community Service Center. Did I get that right?
That's correct.
Yes, and so Louis is also a person in long-term recovery, and he's a strong advocate for those in need of drug addiction prevention, treatment, and or recovery. So, he's also a member of the Bronx Opiate Collective Impact Project on 3rd Avenue, the Recovery Collaborative at Patterson Playground and St. Mary's Park in the Bronx. Also a proud member of the New York State Alumni Association Steering Committee. I don't know how you do it, man. You are so well decorated. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me, Connie. You forgot to mention I am a person in long-term recovery, and what that means to me is that I haven't used any substances or any people in 21 years.
Oh, I never heard that phrase that way. You haven't used any substance at any people?
Definitely, we tend to manipulate ourselves into relationships and situations, and we take advantage of individuals at times.
That's right. That's right.
But in
that's
recovery, we learn to do different.
That's right.
So my passion is recovery, and I seek to help all individuals that are vulnerable to addiction, that are in need of treatment, recovery, prevention, and harm reduction. And that's my passion in life.
Yeah, and I know that for a fact. Louis and I have been friends and colleagues at different treatment programs that we worked. So it's such a pleasure to have you here today. So as a well-decorated person in the field of recovery, how do you keep this energy? How do you keep this energy going? How do you do this?
Well, similar to many individuals, prayer and meditation helps me a great deal. One of the greatest impacts that I have experienced in my life has been, growing up in a family with addiction. Right. My father being an active addict and suffering through all those crises, and my neighbors, my family, and it has given me a route for me to follow and help other people out of that situation, being that I was able to do it, and I am so grateful that I was able to do it.
Right, because not everybody gets out. Not everybody gets out. What has been the most impactful? I've been following you on Facebook and Instagram, and I wanted to ask you, what has been the most impactful case you have encountered since I call you guys the Recovery Warriors? Since you started the recovery aspect out in St. Mary's Park and St. Mary's Park and
Patterson Playground.
What has been the most impactful case that you had to deal with?
Wow, amazing. Since we've been doing the outreach, it first started out back in 2015 with the K2 epidemic, where people did not understand what was the substance that was being used by individuals. Once we identified it, we fought and advocated and did outreach to make it illegal and to help the individuals find some sort of treatment. No one knew how to treat that type of substance. At this time, we know that rehab, long-term inpatient treatment, can help with counseling. And that evolved later on. It evolved to the public drug use. Injectables, individuals injecting heroin in the street in front of kids and parents, and disposing of the needles on the ground, on the sidewalks, and things like that became hurtful, because as I walked to work every day, I was noticing the needles and I was noticing the kids, in the playground. So we decided to start doing outreach in the community to try and educate the individuals on how to get rid of those syringes and dispose of them. The first time that I went into the park, and the biggest impact that I had, about 2 years ago, I went into the park to do a health fair. One that I do with the Bronx Council on Alcohol and Substance Use Disorders. Yes. And as we were setting up that morning, there's an individual shooting up on his neck with his iPhone like this. And he's alone by himself, holding his breath, and popping out his veins and shooting up. And I couldn't believe it. And we were there starting to set up, and he wouldn't move. Like it was okay, like it was legal. So I inched by inch, I inched towards him little by little, not to scare him away. And I got up to him and I said, "Can I take your picture?" And he just shrugged like that. He kept shooting up in the neck. I took his picture. And I said, "When you're done, I got something for you." And I went back to start setting up for the health fair. This individual was homeless. We saw him there for several weeks, months, sleeping in the park. And we were encouraging him to seek out services, residential treatment and going to methadone and things like that. And the most impactful thing that happened with him was that he eventually came to us, asked for help. With the help of Bronx Works, they were able to help him get stable housing. We were able to get him into a methadone treatment nearby with Samaritan Village. That was incredible. And he was able to stabilize. So that was the most impactful, because we saw that day by day. We go to the park every week. We've been doing it for over 2 years. I've been doing it for about 5 years. So we're there every Thursday in Patterson Playground. The thing about Patterson Playground is that it is behind PS 18, on Morris Avenue, across the street from
So
Lincoln
they used to
Hospital.
call the 18 Park.
Yeah.
Back in the day, right?
Right, 18 Park. And Harlem RBI built a new baseball field in the backyard for the kids in the school.
Right. Oh, yeah.
So what happens is that Patterson Playground is right behind the park, and you got the Patterson New York City Housing Authority nearby, right there on that block. And you see the action of the selling and the dealing and the getting high while the kids are in the yard playing.
Side, right. Wow.
So, you know, a lot of complaints from the community, from the church nearby to the police officers, the 40th precinct, and things like that, motivated us to continue and expand and do something. The miracle happened 2 years ago. Raul Rusi from Acacia Network.
Acacia Networks, right.
He did a forum with Pam Mattel. Remember Pam?
Pam Mattel,
She was
yes.
wonderful. They did a forum at the college on 149th Street.
Right.
And what happened was that we decided to develop a collaborative, that we should invite treatment programs, treatment providers, harm reduction, prevention specialists, peers to come and volunteer and do outreach in this community to see if we can provide some services to these individuals that are extremely needy. And Raul Rusi was able to get support from Salamanca, Councilman Salamanca.
Salamanca, yes.
Very helpful, wonderful individual. And he united with Salamanca, and Raul Rusi united with us in the 3rd Avenue bid.
Wow.
Michael Brady. And we were able to start meetings and discuss what we should do. The best thing that happened was that we weren't just talking about it, we took action.
You did it.
Right? We actually went to the park, we brought sandwiches, we brought socks, underwears. The harm reduction companies brought their own instruments, you know, like clean needles, cookers, water, and things like that.
Right.
It was very difficult to educate the community about what we were doing because some people think that we're enabling the individual and we're attracting them. But actually, harm reduction requires us to meet the client where they're at so we can prevent the spread of diseases and increase safety in the community. But it is very difficult. At this time, it continues to grow. It continues to be an issue. And we seek out, you know, more volunteers and more providers to come and help us out until we can develop a better solution. There's got to be a better solution. We have to think outside of the box. It's not the regular treatment and things that we're doing right now that's going to resolve this issue.
There's different pathways to recovery. I'm glad you talked about harm reduction because there is a misconception about what harm reduction is. So I'm glad that you brought that to the forefront. And I'm so happy that you guys are out there because, like you said, you are actually taking action. You're doing the job. You're doing the job nobody wants to do. And this is great in our backyard. What is one of your most recent success stories aside? I mean, I'm pretty sure you have like thousands of those stories. You've been doing this for a while. What is one of your most successful stories, just recent?
Right. One of the most successful stories is an individual that I helped through treatment. Encouraged him to go to training for KSAC, similar to Recoveries R US, the training school. And this individual finished his training, did an internship with me, and is employed as a counselor today. And now he's doing outreach with me, right? So those things really are gratifying.
That's why we get up in the morning and do what we do.
Right, even if it's just one a year, right?
That's right.
Right, because
which I'm sure there's more than that, but yeah, absolutely. And Louis, tell me about if individuals wanted to reach out to you and get in touch with you, how would they go about doing that?
Right, the best way to get in touch with me is to use my business phone number, and that's 718-598-1390.
There you have it, folks. Good. Tell me about more the future endeavors. I know you got a lot of things going on. I don't know how you put all. You have a big plate. I don't know how you put all this in your plate, but I'm grateful for you and the work that you do, and I'm sure that our viewers are as well. So what's happening? What's going on in the future? What's happening?
Right. So there are a lot of things going on. One thing was that I relocated to Emma L. Bowen Community Service Center. And one of the reasons why I relocated to become the program director for this chemical dependency outpatient program is because we're providing medication-assisted treatment, you know, Vivitrol and Suboxone. And the program itself, we have a therapeutic preschool for children from 3 to 5 years old with behavioral issues, and we help them prepare them for public school. We also have mental health services for individuals, for children from 6 to 18, an adolescent program with mental health issues. And then we have the adult outpatient behavioral health program, which is for adult individuals with mental health issues. We have a Rainbow Club. And we have a pantry. So all those things attracted me to this program. But as far as the future endeavors, what we're doing is the most immediate thing that's going on is that tomorrow we're having the Bronx Walk. And we would love everyone to come, you know, if this segment airs before that. If not, you can come next year.
That's right.
The Bronx Walk is going to be at St. Mary's Park tomorrow at 1 o'clock.
That's right.
And that's September 28th, right?
Right.
So the other thing that's going on in October is on October 24th, we have the Alumni Association of New York State meeting. This is for individuals that have been through treatment before, and even treatment providers come to this treatment. We meet with Albert Aponte and Willie Towns from 6 to 9 at the Oasis Building, 501 7th Avenue on the 8th floor. And what we do is we plan activities to advocate for the needs of vulnerable people. And everyone is invited, the Alumni Association. We also have the Bronx Opioid Impact Collaborative, which is the one that we do outreach on Mondays on 149th Street between St. Anne's and Brook Avenue, right across the street from Burger King. This is a hot spot.
That's right.
Yeah, it's a hot spot. Matter of fact, Richie Torres was around there this morning, and I saw him on Twitter talking about the overdoses that are happening in the Bronx.
Right.
You know that we have the largest number of overdoses in New York City at this time, and we want to fight that. We want to combat that. We need volunteers to help us to fight this issue. So the Bronx Opioid Impact Collaborative meets at Immaculate Conception on 150th and Melrose in the basement on Tuesday, October 1st. From 10 to 11. So if anybody's interested to participate or want more information, they should come there. If not, they can come on Thursday from 9 to 11 to Patterson Playground, or they can come to St. Mary's 149 between St. Anne's and Brook on Mondays from 9 to 11, where we're handing out sandwiches and harm reduction materials and resources. But most importantly, we're offering love, attention, and affection to these individuals that need it the most.
Thank you so much, Louis. There you have it. Folks, if you want to get in touch with Louis, please call the number at the bottom of your screen. And once again, thank you for tuning in to Recoveries R US. My name is Connie Pacheco. And remember, you have to start somewhere, and it all starts with you. See you next week.